Welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man who just got back from Nationals. It's Adam Clement.
Wait, what was I doing at Nationals?
You were flying a plane.
A biplane. Yes,
yeah, you're
yes,
a pilot.
Absolutely. Yes, I was saved by a mysterious man in a jetpack while I was conducting my duties as a flying clown.
Now, you haven't flown ever. What made you
not once.
think that you could be a flying clown?
Well, look, I mean, my buddy Cliff, right? He was on a date with a broad, and I just, I made a complete ass of myself in front of him, and I thought, hey, I got to save this guy's job because he had a bit of a rough show last time he went in the air, so this is my way of paying him back. And lo and behold, I ended up goofing that up too. So out of nowhere, this guy comes around. I don't know who it is. He's got a jetpack on. He got a funny helmet. Comes up right between my crotch and the biplane. I think I'm dying. I'm seeing guys' heads in my lap. This guy ends up showing me the way out, and here I am today.
Now, how did you feel when you came so close to that oil, truck, the gasoline truck exploding? Did you feel the heat?
Oh, I felt the heat, baby. I'm just happy to be alive.
Now, are you paying off that plane since you're the one who decided to take it out? Is there insurance? What's the deal?
Well, the thing with that is the particulars are being worked on. My lawyer's talking to their lawyers. But, what's important is that I'm alive. And, who would begrudge one of their life in the aftermath of property damage and the like? So as far as I'm concerned, insurance will take care of it.
Now, I have a question. You when you went up there, you weren't Adam. Right? You were Biff the Clown. So how did that name come about?
Well, I'm a really big fan of Back to the Future, so this is my way of paying homage to one of cinema's classic goofs.
Can I ask you a question?
You wouldn't stop you.
What's Bill Paxton's name in Weird Science? Chet?
I think it's Chet. Yeah, it's Chet.
I just answered my own question.
Yeah. It's a perfect name for that character, really. You talk about casting and character coming together in perfect harmony, then you could talk about the script having just the right name. That's just a wonderful serendipitous Venn diagram of things coalescing.
I mean, that's a perfect name. Like, can you think of any other perfect names for movies?
For movies?
Yeah.
For movies or movie characters?
Like movie characters that have perfect names.
It's hard to think about on the spot. I don't know. As far as villains are concerned, Chet's great because, right, it's like the 2019 Chad, right? Chet is just that, it reeks of privilege. He probably owns a few sweater vests. He's probably an asshole. And that's, I don't know if that's the character in that movie necessarily, but it applies to so many different types of jerks in a way that doesn't get used that often, which I guess is kind of the point, because what monster of a parent names their kid Chet, sort of setting himself up for failure.
Now, what about Frank from Hot Rod, played by everyone's favorite Ian McShane, the stepdad?
See, when you say that, and I'm glad you mentioned that example, because when I think of the name Frank, I think of Frank Booth, right? The Dennis Hopper villain of Blue Velvet. But now that you mention it, Frank is a good sort of catch-all, right, for that sort of gruff, maybe not villain necessarily, but sinister or authoritative figure, kind of in the way Jack is used as this independent, strong male pro-tag, right?
Jack Skellington, Jack Sparrow. Jack Burton, Jack Bauer.
There's a lot of Jacks. I was always very resentful of my father because his name is Jack, and I was like, God, he took the name. No, I can't be Jack. But that's neither here nor there. That's for my Thursday appointments. Wait, is it Thursday? It's Thursday!
So tell me how you feel. How's it been this week?
Well, I just can't get over after 32 years of living that my father's name is Jack. It's the name I wanted.
Now, in the last session, you were telling me that you're really angry at your parents for them taking away your Michael Myers knife and the butcher knife you stole. I mean, are you still angry about that, or did we kind of talk it out?
I'll just say this. The neighborhood is still very upset and asking for where is Michael, because that was my thing, right? Every Halloween, take a walk. Take a walk around the neighborhood in the outfit. It's just a ritual. Maybe I'm not trick-or-treating. Maybe I'm not handing out candy. Just take a walk. I'm not bothering anybody. And yet Mom's like, oh, that's dangerous. You got to give me that knife. I'm like, Mom, I'm not going to hurt anyone. It's just for show.
Yep. And
so
what about
you still got
what?
Oh, I still got neighbors asking them where'd he go, and it's been like 15 years. But if she wants to give me my knife back, maybe I'll come home.
Just kept walking. And I'm amazed that you had someone with a Panaglide filming every Halloween.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way it's done, baby. John Carpenter knows what he wants.
Now, another perfect name is Neville Sinclair.
It is, and it's even better than the very very obvious inspiration for the character and Errol Flynn.
Oh yeah, I mean they almost recreate scenes from Robin Hood.
Yeah, I mean the whole movie, which I will not get into at depth because this is the intro, but yeah, the historical fiction element is so fun with this movie because it's like, yeah, Neville Sinclair, that's a great name, but it's like that's so clearly supposed to be Errol Flynn running around as Robin Hood.
Yep, and very athletic too, just like Errol Flynn. I watched, so I wrote an article about who's the most accurate archer for Rotten Tomatoes, and I watched the Robin Hood movie again. Errol Flynn
Wait, which one? The original one.
Yeah. There was a black and white one, which I watched. I watched the original black and white, and then I watched the other one, the Robin Hood, the one with Errol Flynn, the Adventures of Robin Hood.
I don't remember.
He was an athletic fella.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of his shtick, right? He was sort of the Buster Keaton of his time. He was just really known for being nimble, and maybe he was a gymnast or something. I don't know. He was pretty good with a sword.
Now, during this movie, I did get flashbacks because I worked on a lot of film sets. Cliff shows up to the film set. You've heard closed set before.
It's a closed set.
Hey, ladies in waiting, we're waiting. So I was an extra for a while. I never applied there was never a full-time gig. I would take jobs when I wasn't working on sets just to kind of meet people.
When they needed tall, handsome, Scandinavian-looking gentlemen.
Yeah, that's right. One time I was told that I was too Californian. So I was on a TV show and I was going to be like a featured bailiff.
Okay.
And really featured. And the guy looks at me and goes, "To California." And I'm like, what does that mean? But I guess I looked.
You have blonde features. You have a chiseled jaw. You have that sort of man about town vibe to you, perhaps.
I was wearing a sweater vest over my cop outfit.
Along with the "My name is Chet" sticker.
Biff. He said to that. But I did play a swim coach on.
That fits.
Teen
you definitely
Wolf.
look very swim coach.
And dude, I remember one time they're like, "Hey, we got a swim coach. Should he get a line?" And I didn't even know what that meant yet. And that would have been a big payday. And they considered it for a while. Then they're like, "Nah, we don't need it." But I almost got like a big payday. I'm like my first featured extra gig.
What could have been?
Yeah.
Their loss.
One of these days I'll do a top 10 extra roles that I had.
I would love that. Please do that.
Yeah. I had a good wine pouring bit in American Reunion. But
whoa, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, and the ADR dialogue into my mouth. So I'm going, "Tell me when."
That's so cool.
And then when Tara Reid comes to the party, I'm the person she's talking to. And
Are you really?
Yeah. And then but you can't really see me. You just see her talking to people.
Sure.
And then I was in an Odd Life of Timothy Green a lot.
That's so cool.
You saw my following one, maybe. I carried this in the pilot episode of The Following. Kevin Bacon's breaking a guy's hand. I run in there and I drag a serial killer out.
I haven't. You need to link me that.
Yeah. And then Resurrection, I dragged Omar Epps out of a room after he got knocked unconscious.
Omar Epps?
Yeah.
Wow.
I did. I was a dead peacekeeper in Hunger Games.
Dude, I don't even know you.
I had a lot more. I was in Three Stooges. I was a party goer.
Yes, the Will Sasso vehicle.
Yeah, I got some good. I'm around on that. There's a lot more, man. I can't even remember.
You're gonna have to send me your sizzle reel.
I can't even find any of them.
Can you make one?
I don't time. I don't know if I want to do it.
Instead, here you are talking to me about.
And everyone's gonna hear it, so I basically want people to know about it.
Sure.
But I love the bits of Hollywood in this, and it kind of reminded me of Hail Caesar a little bit, even though Hail Caesar, which doesn't make sense. But I loved reading about the kind of old timey Hollywood. And when Cliff broke on set, and then he was like, "Hey, is Jenny here?" I'm like,
yeah,
"Yo,
talk about the most
Cliff."
boneheaded thing you could possibly say. And at one point, I was like, you know what? Cliff is a great protag because he's got all the masculine features you want in a traditional Hollywood hero, but he's just the right amount of fumbling. And at that point, he almost goes over the edge. It's like, God damn it, Cliff. Too much. Now,
Jenny, played by Jennifer Connelly, she was only 20 when she made this movie. And How good is she in this movie?
I don't know. I can't answer that at the risk of sounding like a complete just
I'm talking
terrible
about
person.
Acting.
I'm keeping it on the craft, but you're right. For a young actress, she's very good in it. But that's also by virtue, right, of the character. She plays a young, starry-eyed actress who is trying to obviously break her way into the industry, and she's seduced, of course, by Neville Sinclair. And you meet her in the beginning, and she's reading for parts that may not have many lines, and you immediately understand through her affectations what she's about and who she is immediately, and that's a sign of her talent there.
But after watching this movie so much, you pick up the little things of her, like when technically you're always acting, but she adds things to it that don't feel like acting; they feel like natural. And imagine you and I at 20 years old trying to do a similar role.
I don't want to. I was in a rough shape at 20 years old, but I'll tell you, it's a good point, because what is that beautiful, perfect line that the director uses on set? He goes, acting is acting like you're not acting.
Yeah.
So act like you're not acting. Is something to that effect. And I just thought that was what a wonderful encapsulation of the craft, right? Like, me as a nobody, certainly I don't know anything about that beyond method.
He's probably a first AD.
Right, yeah, exactly. He's not even like the director.
Yeah. That's the guy who deals with all the stress. I love it.
Sure.
Yeah, I know you. Sorry, I interrupted you there. I was thinking about the poor stressed out first AD. He should have had a bottle of Pepto in his hand. That'd have made him more believable.
Did they have Pepto in like the 1940s, 40s?
The equivalent.
Oh, okay.
They just called it pink water, and no one knew what was in it.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I'm sure they had something in the 40s.
Yeah, but they also had a lot of bad stuff in the 40s.
Gin.
I mean, yeah, gin's
late
like
30s. I guess late 30s. But I mean, yeah, it makes me want to talk more about movies. But this movie, actually, I got a good question. This will lead us into something. And so we got a very good question from our longtime listener. Actually, he just joined the podcast. Wait, no, this is going out before the podcast. No, yes, Drag Across Concrete came out before this one. I got them all mixed up. But this is a question from Johnny Num. And he asks, the first one is multiple choice or fill-in with the smiley face. At the time, the film was a flop for Disney. Interesting that years later, director Joe Johnston would go on to helm the first Captain America, which shares many themes with the Rocketeer. Do you attribute its box office failure to A, the obscurity of the titular character, who is not as well known as his Marvel and DC brethren, the fact that it looked too far into the past World War II to connect with the target PG-rated demographic in 1991, the fact that the lead is simply a human with a special rocket pack, and lacks the exceptional otherworldly traits of, say, the X-Men, the Fantastic Four, or even Batman, or something else. If it were re-released or remade today, do you think it would do better from a financial standpoint, as we're currently in a superhero renaissance?
Where to start? First of all, I don't know if we're doing some sort of Batman Begins intro to this where we don't say the name until the very end, but we're talking about the Rocketeer for anybody who actually doesn't know by now. And I guess I'm going to take the lead on this one at least. I think it's mostly the first two. I think it's a lot of different factors. I do think that the movie was ahead of its time for better and worse, right? It was coming out sort of after Batman, right? But that was a very big superhero movie, and I think people had expectations for what they wanted in action movies. That said, it's not like we couldn't make, an old-timey serial. But when you had something like Indiana Jones, you had the star power of Harrison Ford. I don't know how many people really knew who this protag was. This oh gosh, please help me jog my memory with the actor's name.
Billy Campbell.
Billy Campbell, yeah. Who, to his credit, he looks like he just walked right off a comic book. He's got every chiseled feature you could want. But yeah, I think it's a little bit of everything. I mean, I think the time period is one, and it doesn't have that baked-in fan base. Like, this is actually, I think Dave Stevens is the creator. This is based on his comic graphic novel, so it is technically from a comic book, but it doesn't have, it's not Batman, it's not Superman. It doesn't have that audience that's going to be there on day one of opening. So I do think it's a mix of factors. I do think you're seeing somebody in a sort of silly outfit, which I don't think is silly at all, but, they got a backpack that's jetpack, and you got this impossibly iconic helmet, which,